Two-time Hall of Fame inductees, Brent Godarzi and Marty Young. Back-to-back #1 trucking firm in the nation. Back-to-back best attorney and best law firm in East Texas.
Hello, Buckeye Nation. Welcome to the Gilmer Coaches Show. I'm your host, Jeff Rash. I'm joined today, as always, by the head coach and athletic director of the Gilmer Buckeyes, Mr. Alan Metzel. And we have a special guest with us today, the principal of Gilmer High School, my good friend, Mr. Brian Bowman. Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you were able to join us today. So, a lot to talk about, guys. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of good football stuff to talk about. Congratulations. We're going to advance again. Third round into the playoffs. This is, I believe, the 14th straight year that Gilmer's been at least 3 rounds deep in the playoffs.
Correct.
And so we're having a good season, and for your first season, you couldn't ask for more.
That is right.
It's good. Right. Well, you can ask for more, actually. The whole town's asking for more. Actually, now that you want to bring it up,
exactly.
we're all we want is 16.
Yeah, that's all.
I pointed out to him a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. I was like, "You realize you've already won 10 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You only have to win 5 more
to
win the whole thing. I mean, how hard is that? How hard is that, right?"
Big deal.
So before we get to look at some highlights of the game, which was a really good game, better even than I anticipated. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about next week's opponent. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to Brian a little bit. We asked Brian to come in here today, and you guys can kind of talk about the way you guys support each other. And obviously, I spent a good number of years on the school board, so I kind of got to see it from the inside. But Brian, we talk about every once in a while about football being a microcosm for life. Teaching these young men hard work, discipline, and all those things, that the cooperation, leadership, all the things they learn down here, and actually any extracurricular, which we could sit here and brag. We're talking about football.
Sure.
We could do a show about FFA here. We can talk about our band getting a 1 last week. One of the best bands, obviously, military bands in the state of Texas. Our ROTC, it just goes on and on and on. It's amazing. You brag a lot about. You've even taken some flack.
I have.
You have taken some flack, and I don't care. I'm proud of you for doing that. You're our PR guy.
That's right.
You've taken some flack for bragging on our kids about how much we win, how we excel, not only in the classroom, but also extracurricular. So before we get into that, tell me. A lot of people may not realize how the coaching staff down here at the field house. Everybody kind of sees sometimes that. Well, they're just football and a bunch of knuckleheads and drawing X's and O's, and but they don't really realize the connection between that brand new building and this building. Can you explain it?
I'll talk about it from a couple of standpoints. One is from a principal, but also as a dad. So I've been fortunate to have 3 boys go through this program. Dylan graduated in 2013, went on to play college and coach college, and was hired on Coach Metzel's staff this year. Cameron graduated in 2016. They both have won a state championship. Working in law enforcement now, graduates college in December, and then Cade's a sophomore this year on the football team. From a dad's perspective, it's one of those deals, you cannot pick a better group of men to help raise my boys.
I say the same thing.
And I've always said that they spend more time with Coach Metzel and his staff than what they do with me, especially Dylan now, but all of them.
No doubt.
An example I'll give you is Cameron, my middle son, who works in law enforcement now, comes home last week. I told Coach Metzel this story. Comes home and he says, "Dad, I realized something this morning working in a jail." And I says, "What?" He said, "I can be Coach Metzel." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Just because these guys have made mistakes," he said, "it doesn't mean that I have to hate them and dislike them and be hard on them." He said, "I can still love them." And he said, "And I learned that from Coach Metzel."
And that's something.
That was last week that happened from a kid that graduated several years ago.
Yeah.
But the impact that these guys make on our young men in this community, you can't explain. Going into the school, whether it's grade checks, every single day our coaches going and holding the kids accountable for their grades.
Yeah.
If they're tardy to class, I'll call Coach Metzel. They deal with it at practice.
It's almost not fair.
It is. The kids don't have a chance.
It's stacked against them.
The accountability that our kids get from our coaches, you can't explain. That's from the school stand and from a dad standpoint. Is
But it spills over in the classroom.
Very much so.
Their performance there matters.
That's our desire.
Yeah.
You know, I always say this, Gilmer High School is successful as our football team. And what I mean by that, they're the leaders in the school. They're going to hold other kids accountable. As long as football's playing, school is fun. At Gilmer High School, it's just not about academics. And you have 100, 130 kids involved in just football.
Yeah.
You know, and it spills over into the entire school. I mean, it runs our school, and that's why we have the success that we have. It's because of him and his coaches.
We do. And it's just amazing the amount of leadership, that you gain. I look back at my own life, and any success that I've ever been able to obtain, I look at it and I think, there's really three things I can tell you, honestly. And one of them's going to sound kind of weird, but I'm going to name it last because it may be the most important, as odd as it's going to sound. First program that I would say is our ag program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it set me off on a course,
Sure.
right? And Sue Witt was a brand new baby teacher. She was 22 years old, and I got to break her in, right? Which I can't believe she stayed on, after that deal. The second thing is football. What I learned here, pushing yourself beyond when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that you can do more. It's all relative, right?
Sure.
All things are relative in your life. And when you've gone out here and sweated and bled and thrown up and pushed yourself and way beyond comfort, you learn to do that in a job.
That's right.
You learn to do that with your
Yeah.
family when things get hard in life in general. And the third one, and this is going to be weird, is my typing teacher, Miss Stevenson, who's passed on now. But my job requires me to be really good on a keyboard. And that woman, I went in there as a blow-off class, and there was, anybody that's watching this, I guarantee they're laughing right now, because a lot of us, my mother had Miss Stevenson teach typing, and you didn't get away with that. She'd walk around with a little ruler, and you were going to keep your hands up, and so great skill sets, but all learned right here on this campus where we're at today. So, and you talked a little bit about the success of our kids. I mean, share just some of the recent stuff. I mean, forget we know how great they do in extracurricular, but a lot of people fail to realize how good we are in the classroom.
Right. You know, and you're right, people fail to realize that. I've made a lot of principal friends of mine mad because on social media I'll do a little hashtag of we win at everything.
Yeah.
But it's true, and it's bragging on our kids.
And you don't need friends. You got friends.
Right, I got them here.
Yeah, we like that.
We're good.
Yeah.
But Gilmer High School is one of those places our kids love to compete.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it's at.
That's right.
It can be on the football field, it can be in ROTC, it can be in band, it can be in drill team, it can be in the classroom.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors, we're going to be there.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Our kids love to compete. So the superintendent of Godly the other night's a friend of mine, and he texted me about our band. He said, y'all just blew us away during halftime too.
Yeah.
And so he and I were talking. I said, what's even more mind-boggling is about 70% of our kids are low socioeconomic.
Yeah.
But they still come to school every day and compete in everything they
And
do.
perform and win.
So if you look at every high school, from downtown Dallas to Texarkana down to about Nacogdoches, that whole area of every high school, for the past 3 years, we have the second most academic distinctions of anybody. There's one other high school that beat us by one.
And that's graded by the Texas Education Agency. That's the guy setting the standard. And
that is.
And sometimes the deck, I don't want to get into that here, but the deck gets stacked against you occasionally. And you guys have pulled off something that's not a lot of schools in the state of Texas.
That's right.
You're talking about our region, but not a lot in the state of Texas have done what we've done.
And so we excel academically. We offer more dual credit classes than anyone in Upshur County. We're offering a new course this year with the University of Texas at Austin. It goes on and on and on and on of what our kids get in the classroom that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
We get a lot of transfers in for that reason. And so, we're very successful in extracurricular. Band, 13 years in a row, getting to Division I.
It's crazy.
Football, 14 years in a row, going to round 3. We're the only 4A program in the state of Texas with an ROTC, with Air Force ROTC. It doesn't matter, third or fourth largest FFA program in the entire state of Texas.
And one of the most
successful.
Competitive.
No doubt.
So all that spills over into the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and kids get in the classroom, and our teachers is what a school called me last year and says, how are y'all getting the test scores that you get? And I said, we're not doing anything different as far as teaching, what our teachers do an unbelievable job of is loving on kids and building relationships.
That's right.
And she said, Brian, it's more than that. I said, it's not.
It's
I
not.
said, our teachers teach
It's about
every day,
relationship.
Right.
but they build relationships and they love on kids.
Yep.
And that's what our kids here get.
And Brian's
group.
very humble like you are about this, but I'll tell you now,
He's
it's
amazing.
because he sets the standard for that. He's one of,
People
I
love
think he's the
working
best
for him.
principal in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. I'm glad my kids got to be under
That's
him.
right.
And so we're never going to let him go. This place is like the firm. We've got a track hoe and lots of land, so he's not going anywhere. So, and by the way, for our viewing audience, a lot of people don't know this. We share this in common. We're all 6'3".
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can just see right across the
6'3",
top here.
6'3".
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, folks, if you ever hear anybody, and I mean this, for all of you that are watching, I assume most of the people that are watching this are big Buckeye fans. That's why you dial in and watch the coaches show and you support these kids. But I want you to support our administration and our kids in a different way. Forget sports, okay? And believe me when I tell you, these extracurricular activities, all of them that we've mentioned, they all lead back. The whole purpose of them are for better performance in the classroom. If you just had class, most of these kids would drop out in the 10th grade or sooner. They wouldn't come to school. They wouldn't be motivated to perform. This is the reward for them to be able to perform in the classroom. And they have something to lose.
Yeah.
And so it's very important. But here's what I'm asking you to do as a community. If you hear somebody that's ignorant, talking about, Gilmer, I've heard this and I've heard that. Those are conspiracy theories, and that person's ignorant. It's your job to inform them. And if you don't have the right words or the right stats, you call one of us, and we'll be happy to show you the number. We'll show you the paper. We'll show you where these guys perform on paper. One of the top academic schools in the state of Texas. Even a Newsweek, right?
Yeah.
Top 10%, U.S. News and World
Report.
Top 10% of the schools in the nation.
In the nation.
I mean, not everybody gets that, right?
Yeah, we've got it about 6 years in a row.
Yeah, so it's been a great year for our students, and we're glad. So let's talk some football. All right. Anything else you want to mention?
No.
You got a new school.
We have a brand new school, very thankful to the community for that.
Beautiful.
State of the art. We can offer so many different programs to kids that we couldn't do before.
Yeah.
And not many people in East Texas can
Yeah.
with what we have. So
Oh,
very
that's
thankful
amazing.
for that. And
Gives our
invite
kids a
people
leg
to
up.
see it.
It gives them a leg up, college
Very much
readiness.
so.
People need to come take a tour.
You need to come
Yes.
look at it.
Yeah.
Brian likes to show it off.
I
And
do.
so does Rick Albright.
I
He
do.
loves. He has walked
A million miles.
2 million
Yes.
steps, I bet, through
Yes.
that school showing it off. So, Alan, let's look at some of our highlights. Before we get started, though, what did you see? I know there's some things I want to ask you the question. I do this often. What did you see you like? What didn't you like? I know there's some things you didn't like because I had a son in the locker room at halftime, and so that's how I know that.
Got it.
But I'll ask you first. What did you see you liked?
Okay, that I liked. I thought there were plays there that we made. We threw the ball down the field pretty well and caught the ball. I liked seeing some of our young guys. Ashton Haynes was one in particular
Yeah, he did good.
that's had to step in after Davion twisted his ankle and really made some plays. So it's good to see things like that. Guys stepping up. I liked seeing some adjustments that our defense did in the second half to slow down some of their passing game that they had done well on, talking about Godley in the first half. So those were all things that I liked seeing the adjustments. You know, that was positive. Things I didn't like was I felt like our intensity level was not consistent. I thought we had spurts of good intensity, and that's one of the things I've really been preaching here lately is, not letting our emotion dictate how we play.
Yeah.
To allow our intensity to overcome that, and I thought there were spurts where we were there, and there were periods of time where it lacked, and you could see that. And it played over offensively in the area of penalties, and we put ourselves, in some ridiculous positions at times, where we were having to make up.
1st and 35.
That's no fun to call that play. I just tell you right now. So some of that was just maddening. But then I also saw us rally, come together, and do some things that looked
Which
good.
you guys have been great at. Y'all always make adjustments at halftime. You all come out. We've been a second half team all year. I know that frustrates you to no
It
end
does.
because you want to play all 4 quarters.
Play all of it.
But as long as you get the W at the
Correct.
end,
Correct.
so it wasn't as pretty as you wanted it to
No.
be. But
we play again.
You play, you do, and you can't take away anything from God.
No, they did it.
I mean,
job.
for what they had on the field, they were outmatched athletically. They truly were on every single position. But man, you talk about somebody that uses what they got. They reminded me of back years ago. We used to go. Matt Camp and Todd and I used to go watch Evangel play, and they're just like it. Execute perfectly.
Right.
That quarterback was.
He was
awesome. He's the real deal.
Yeah, he did a really
So
good
it was
job.
a great game. They gave us a good game. They gave us all we wanted. So let's look at some highlights of this game. First one is a touchdown. This was a fade route to Dylan.
Yes, sir. We got Dylan out here on the outside. We felt like we had a good matchup that we wanted to go to, so we called the fade route to him. Brandon does a great job. You know, if you can get it up in the air for him, you've got a really good chance of scoring a touchdown. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah, anytime you can do a jump ball to Dylan,
You've got
a chance.
the odds are in
you
your
got a
favor.
chance. This next one was a defensive play, and this guy, we talk about this guy a lot.
Yes.
He's like 5'6", 5'7", Jet Jones, but he plays like he's 6'4". And just watch how this guy, his pursuit, he's an optimist. Because his pursuit is down the line and then into the backfield. He doesn't like take an angle and say, I'll catch him after 10 yards. He's going in the backfield every time.
He is down.
This is what a linebacker is supposed to look like,
That's
right?
right. And you'll see him read it as he comes downhill and a beeline through the hole where he's got a fit. I'm going to show you another angle where we'll get from the end zone. So I've got him circled here in the middle, right there, and watch out. They create a hole. You can see the hole right in there, but here comes Jet to fill right in that gap, makes the tackle for loss. Excellent
That's
job.
what a linebacker is supposed to look like.
That's right. He had
This-
19 tackles the other night.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So this is another defensive play. This was a great job of taking away an option. This was a kind of a combination play between Luke Watson and Burton.
Matt Burton, you bet. And you'll see Luke, he slow plays the option by the quarterback, gets outside leverage, which makes the quarterback cut up inside, and that's where Matt is there, and then both of them put the squeeze on him, and excellent job right there.
That's how you play an
That's
option
how you
right
play
there.
the option.
It looks great.
That's right.
This next one was Smith, who's had 500 touchdowns this year. This was another TD for him.
Davion.
No,
you bet.
yeah, Davion,
Davion,
just a great run.
Yeah, you're going to see, I've got a line drawn there. We should have worked out and picked up this blitzing linebacker here. Well, he gets bias. We mistimed that. So Davion sees it and sticks his foot in the ground, hits up inside, and then follows his blockers.
Yeah, that
Cuts
wasn't
all the way
supposed to
back.
go that way.
And excellent job of him of just not panicking and finding the crease.
Yeah, and just take what they give him.
That's right.
If they take away what the play's supposed to be, their job at that point is just go find it.
That's right.
And
And-
have you ever noticed that some of our best plays, our best runs are just broken plays,
Sure,
things
yeah,
that
sure.
maybe that should be something you call broken play. When you get the ball, drop it on the ground, wait, and then pick it up,
Then pick it up.
and then try. Yeah.
Well, it's what you hear coaches say when they say just get an athlete in space.
Yeah.
That's essentially
That's
what
what
you're
they're
trying
talking
to
about.
do. You're
This
right.
next one was another touchdown to Dylan, who we interviewed last week. This was a go route.
Exactly. You're going to see him. He's up at the very top of the screen, and Brandon does a great job of throwing it outside where Dylan could work outside to it. I'm going to show it from the wide angle
That's
next.
a great catch, by
Yes,
the way.
he throws it out there, outside the numbers, and of course Dylan's tracking ability is phenomenal. Plays it over his outside shoulder, and that's how you work it in the drills.
They seem to be having a little communication problems. I think there was 3 routes where I think Brandon was throwing a post and Dylan was running like a go route or something. What was
Well,
going on there?
When that happened, it was just he had run a split the play before, and I believe he was just gassed. He didn't quite get there.
He just didn't get there.
He just
Yeah.
didn't get there. No doubt. Sometimes that happens.
Well, thank you for your
Yes.
honesty.
Uh-huh.
So this next one was a big, could have been a huge turning point in the game as well as they were playing this. This was a blocked extra point.
Block extra point. We talk about a couple of years ago we had John Huffstetler here. He was in the Marines, and in the Marines they talk about when the opponent attacks, you want to counterattack. Well, after a team scores, there's a natural tendency to let down, and
Yeah.
you're mad because they've scored, and you have to be really disciplined to counterattack and steal a point. And we really felt like we could get one of Godley's, and so Tommy and the staff over there, they coached up a block, and here they come through, and get the block.
Well, they got it.
When a team scores and then all of a sudden you block their extra point, it's like it deflates them.
Yeah.
You know, and
momentum shift.
Yes,
instant momentum shift.
So
yeah.
even though they scored, you just robbed them of something right there.
Yeah, because now they know they have to either get up on you another touchdown, or they got to try to go for 2 at some point.
Correct.
So that puts a lot of pressure on them. You've changed the strategy of the whole game at that point. So the extra point block, even though it's a point, it matters, and especially in a game like that, right?
That's right.
This next one was a crucial. I mean, this was like going in at half, right? And this was Spragland interception, and they were going for the end zone.
That's right.
This would have caught them up to us within a point.
Yes.
Yes.
So here's Marche. You can see him. He runs the route as well as the receiver does. He stays behind the receiver on his route. Basically runs the fade route for him and catches the ball in the end zone. And now we get it out at the 20.
Yeah.
So big momentum.
Big play there.
Mm-hmm.
This next one is going to be. This was my favorite play of the game, probably. This was an example of what I was talking about. Just pick it up, drop it, run around in circles 3 times, and then see what you can do. This is Jaden Griffin running one all the way back.
That's right.
And so, what a great run.
Well, when you talk about the dropping it and so forth, what happens, and it happens at every level. You see NFL people do it like this too. When the ball's sitting on the ground, guys tend to lose their discipline in their lanes. And so all it takes is one guy to move over a lane, which allows a crease. Well, that's what happens. So you're going to see it, and I've got it from the end zone view here so that you can see where it opens up. So here it is, and we're trying to pick it up. We finally get it. Well, now look at the crease right there because a guy ran in because the ball's on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, Jaden did a great job of finding it. Marche leads up through. Mason's downfield, picks up a block right here, knocks the guy down. And then Jaden just outruns him down the sideline.
Yeah, once he got on the sideline, we knew it was over. Like, you're not going to catch that one.
No.
This next one, I take it back. That was my second favorite play of the game.
Okay.
This was my favorite play of the game. This is a sophomore. This guy's like, what, 15 years old?
Amaro.
15 years old. Amaro Arona, number 33. This guy's tough as nails.
Very
I mean, this kid, we got him on contract for 2 more years, right?
That's right.
So this guy plants. This is a classic head on the bow, face plant to face, and picks this guy up and drives him, plants him in the ground. There'll be corn coming up there next year, you watch.
No doubt. This quarterback, he's going to run option to the outside. I've got Amaro circled for you. So once he takes the snap, he's going to come to the left, and then here it comes. And he
just picks him up and just classic.
Exactly.
Just a perfect form tackle.
Right.
And then the last play of the game is going to be, this is where Burton, you sent him on a stunt, or Tommy sent him on a stunt.
Exactly.
And he does a great job timing it. He nearly looks like he went off sides, but he timed it just right.
Created havoc in the backfield, which throws everything off. Bounces the running back right to Amaro and Braylon Ward, who get him on the ground. Excellent job stopping the run.
Those 2 guys did a good job getting off their block, being there to fill the gap.
They did.
So, congratulations on another win.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
And so now we travel to round 3. We're
3.
playing Sunnyvale at 2 o'clock on Friday, on Black Friday, 2 o'clock in Athens, Texas.
Correct.
We played there a couple of years ago. Nice stadium. And Sunnyvale actually had a bye, which was not really a bye, it was a forfeiture. Because Mahia had a corona incident, and so they canceled. Sunnyvale would have won. So who were you expecting to win out of that game first of all?
Pretty close call.
Really?
Close call. Very, very evenly matched teams. Mahia had some really athletic kids. You've got Sunnyvale, really good program, very well coached. So, it was going to be an interesting game.
So what can we expect out of Sunnyvale?
Sunnyvale, tough. They've got a lot of size, They like hammering up inside. They run the counter. They run power. They run the buck sweep. Those are, I would say, their bread and butter plays. Their quarterback, if you remember a couple of years ago, they had a really good quarterback 2 years ago when we played them up at Greenville. Well, this is, if I'm not mistaken, is his younger brother. And he's pretty good runner and really good at RPOs, reading whether or not our guys are playing the run and throwing it or whatever. So that we'll probably see a good bit of that in the game. They're pretty talented defensively. They're thick. They have a lot of good sized guys. They're just good looking football players. So we know we're in for it. You know, you get to round 3, you're not playing
No,
anybody
yeah.
that's not any good. You know,
There's
these
no
guys can
slouches
play.
left
No.
in round 3. Yeah.
16 teams in the state. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we know we've got to play well. We can't be inconsistent. We can't have those drops in intensity. We can't allow ourselves to have those kind of penalties.
What do they got in the backfield and for wideouts?
Running back, they've got I would say a guy that looks a little bit like Jerron. You know, maybe not quite as big as Jerron, but he looks kind of like him, and he's got some speed. So he's a big guy who can run. You know, once he gets out in the open, he can run. Like I said, the quarterback, he's a big part of their running game. Wideouts, I would say they have some guys that are comparable to Mason. You know, kind of tall, good hands, run good routes. They catch the ball pretty decent. I would say up till now they've been more of a running team than a throwing team. But they're solid out there.
And they're like kind of a wildcat formation. I mean, like
they run a lot. Well, they run a lot
Draws.
like we do. You know, a lot of with fullback and the tailback, and then but then they'll also get in kind of a heavy formation where they've got the tight end and a fullback in a wing position, and so you know where they're going to just try and grind it a little bit.
Yeah.
So they're fairly multiple.
Defense, good secondary.
Not bad. A lot of those type guys that are playing receiver for them play in the secondary as well. So
That's good.
you know they're solid. They're well coached. John Settle has been an East Texas guy. Played at Dangerfield when Tommy did. You know he knows
coach.
football.
Good
He's
coach.
a good coach.
So your score prediction is
0-0 for the game. So and we're Buckeyes.
I've been trying all year, man.
Good
All
try.
year, he won't give me nothing. I mean, nothing.
I don't do that.
Nothing. We fed him dinner tonight. He won't give
Still
me
up.
nothing.
Still up.
Give me nothing. All right, folks. If you can, Brian, thanks for joining us
No,
today.
thank you
Appreciate
so
everything
much.
you're doing up there in the
No
high
doubt.
school.
We were blessed.
I'm proud to have my son
Thank
under
you.
the leadership of both of you, man.
Thank you.
I entrust my kids to you guys every day, and then pray for you after I send them up here. So thanks for all you do for our community. I know everybody feels the same. So, folks, if you can, come out to Athens at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon, support the Buckeyes against Sunnyvale. If not, you can watch on all of our normal outlets, and we'll bring the game to you live. Thanks for watching the Coaches Show, and we'll see you Friday.